Nicholas, thank you for sitting with me today. You're a talented and dedicated writer and poet, and the Circle of Poets chairman of the board. So thank you for your precious time. I'm happy to be meeting with you today. Hopefully, you leave us with a bit of your zeal for writing, and you'll share your experience in the industry.
Sure, I'll try.
How do you manage working full-time and writing?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone manages. I think I've learned that the process has changed. I've learned that I need to be in my own space. And even if that space is with everyone else around or not, but I need to get inside of my own head and figure out what it is I want to say at any point in time. And it's only when I do that I can write. So I can do that in the middle of a crowd. I can do that all by myself. I can do that while walking down the road. You know, it's really just finding that zen, if you want to call it that.
If your voice were a dish, what would it be?
Food. Wow. You know, I would like to say it was my favorite dish, but I think I would go to something else, something I treasure more. Dal and rice.
Why?
My grandmother taught me when I was a little boy how to eat dal and rice with my hands. And I think it would be like that, eating your poems with your hands, you know, taking up just the right amount and fixing your fingers the correct way to scoop it up individually and then put it in your mouth, so then you get it. But if you don't do enough, you don't get enough. And it could be a little messy, but has all part of it, and it's fun that way.
Lovely imagery.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide what voice to use for what piece?
I don't. It decides itself. I've had many conversations about who writes the poem, and it's always the poet. But most people don't get the poet may not be the person that's holding the pen. The poet is the voice. And sometimes it's a quiet me, sometimes it's a loud me, sometimes it's a communal me. And I guess what happens then is that those aspects of me decide who's going to take charge of today's poem.
And in bringing out that voice, what's the writing process like to get to that point where you know this is the voice that you want?
I try to be as honest with myself as I possibly can. Sometimes we say things that sound nice, that appear to be palatable, and while that's a part of me that I embrace, I also have to look at myself and say, you're talking crap, you're not being honest enough, you're not being truthful. And sometimes I intend not to be honest enough, and that in itself is part of the process. So I'm hiding myself from myself and yet giving you myself. So it's crazy.
It sounds, like you said, a bit messy.
It's like the food. It's like the food, you know. You get a little of it and you put it in, but not all of it always gets in. Some falls out.
When it comes time, though, to clean up that mess and proofreading, how do you go about proofreading your work?
Write it over. I can never, even if I'm finished with it, even if I say this is the approved version, I could never take it from here and put it here without changing something. Whether it's grammar, whether it's lines, the way, the order, punctuation, if I use punctuation, enjambment, how I break up the lines. So every time I find something to change. So I try to not change it up that much. So I often find myself writing on the computer where it's easier. And I still love the pen and paper, but there's something about working on the computer that is easier to edit.
What are you currently working on? Anything special?
This year I'm trying again to put together my works for publication. I found myself an ally who's going to assist me with editing, devil's advocate, some type of a person, and push me a little out of my comfort zone. So I'm hoping that that goes well. I'm a little reluctant.
Share with us, what does the collection represent?
Myself, my soul, looking at everything.
And how long has it been in the making?
Forever. The thing about it is that each stage that I get to in my writing, I'm no longer satisfied with what came before. So what I am going to do is leave what came before alone as best as I can, and have that person help me decide whether or not I should keep it for the collection, or keep it for my personal, journey back when I decide to.
And what does literary success mean to you?
If you can pay me to do nothing all day, and I don't mean do nothing, absolutely nothing, but exist in a space that I'm always connected, so I don't have conventional work to deal with. I don't have the troubles of having to find money to pay bills and that kind of thing. While those things will still exist, if I can stay connected at this point, or at that point, and write honestly and frequently, I think that would be success.
Our last question. What advice do you have for the unpublished writer?
Edit your work. I mean, it's like you're getting ready to go out and you get dressed and leave the house without ever looking at the mirror. And you want to look at the mirror. You want to be confident that what you present is what you mean to present. And oftentimes we find that there are other things people pick up about ourselves that we don't intend on putting out there. Or it may be the unsure side of us, the questioning side of us, and unintentional questioning. That's the problem.
When you say edit your work, the writer editing or taking your work to a professional
Taking
editor?
your work to a professional editor. So you don't do it yourself. I mean, there are people who can, and but we miss things. We miss subtle things because we intended to. So let our actions speak for themselves, and let our intentions speak for themselves personally. But give your work to someone else to just read it over, and then they can ask you, did you mean this? Or this punctuation, is it misplaced? Is it in the correct place? With the way that you cut the line here, was it intentional? Did it carry over the same thought? And sometimes they might not get what you get. And sometimes even the metaphors that we use, they may not get them, because a lot of people use new metaphors, new things that, because we're trying to get away from the cliche, and we want to be able to have people hold something in our work and then keep that one thing. If nothing else they may remember this one thing.
Well, thank you, Nicholas. It's been a pleasure sitting with you.
Sure.